Hi guys, I'm back today with, as I promised, I was going to make some little dolly accessories. This is a very basic beanie hat. My Chitose here is going to be helping me with this. As you can see, she's modelling that beautifully. It's a chunky little hat based on a granny square basis even. So she's my model for today. Remember, the Smartdoll's head is approximately 8 to 9 inches in circumference. So if you have another doll of a similar size, they will stretch. I know that these do nicely fit my Pullips as well. So you've got quite a good cross section for a very simple hat. I have just basic double knit yarn, a little button to accessorise if you want, my sewing up needle, my scissors, obviously. I have a little stitch marker here, which is up to you whether you use one, and I'm going to be using my number 4mm crochet hook again. So I'm going to thank Chitose very much. She's going to have to pop to one side while I actually get on with the hat, and hopefully we'll have another hat very, very soon. So over you go, Chitose. I'll pop the little accessories away as well for now. We don't need those, and I don't need that colour. Starting with the green, I thought it just showed up nicely for you guys to be able to see as well. Now, you may have heard me just say it is based on a granny square. So I've done my slip knot. If you're familiar with your crochet, this is going to be easy. If not, you might be better off popping back to my video where I'm referring to the granny square, or if you're a complete beginner, go all the way back to where I'm referring to how to start a chain and all the very basic beginner things. So we're going to start with 6 chain. Just exactly the same as I did on the granny square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. I'm going to place the hook into that first chain and pull it through with a slip stitch. So that's the hole we're working in. I'm going to do 3 chain. That is our first treble. I'm then going to do 2 trebles in here. Just a reminder, I am working from UK terms. So I will try and put in a little graph so I can show you what the differences are. So we have 2 chain, 1, 3 trebles. As it is a square, we're looking for corners. Those 2 chains are the corners. Nearly. This is the second time I've tried doing this. The first time around, my daughter called. I ignored it first time, so I thought I'd better answer. So I answered, and I thought I could just pause and carry on. I couldn't, so I'm starting again. So I've already got one little hat made to one side, but never mind. It's always handy to have a spare one, especially when you've got more than one doll. Right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, which is what I need. But now we need to join this up. As you'll have seen in my granny square tutorial, I join with a half treble in the top of that 3 chain that you started with. So a half treble is you pull it through, you've got 3 on the hook, and you pull it through. So every round starts with 3 chain. Now this is our first corner. So for a corner, it is 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles. Now I'm going to speed up a little bit, because if you really are unsure on this, all I'm doing is repeating what I've put on that granny square video. So you really do need to have a look at it. It is basically just 3 rounds in granny square. That's all you want. I'm already on my second one. So it doesn't take long at all. There is no chain at all between anything apart from the corners. That's another thing to remember. It makes it a little bit simpler. There's no need for the chain in between. So we've got 1, 2. The reason we're putting the 2 chain in the corners because it denotes where the corners are, and it also keeps you your shape. Right, last corner. So we've already done round 2, oh, says me. That's because I'm trying to rush it a little bit. Please don't rush when you're doing it yourself. It's a quick hat anyway. You could probably get it done in less than half an hour. If you already know what you're doing, you could probably get it done a lot quicker. Right, so here I am, ready to actually join the stitches again. Top of 3 chain approximately, push it in, pull it through, and remember I join with a double crochet. You can do a slip knot, slip stitch if you would prefer. 3 chain. As I say, every round starts with 3 chain, and that 3 chain in this particular situation will always count as a treble. Sometimes your turning chains or your starting chains don't count as a stitch. Just make sure when you're doing your patterns that you read it and make sure you know whether it's meant to count or not, because it can make a difference. Right, so already 2 corners. On a side one now, because you can see the corners here, this is side one. And again, pointing out, a side only has 3 sets of trebles. Look what I've done there. Take it out and do it again. Right, so there was already 1. 2. Corner again. That's going to annoy me that little bit now. Can you see it? If I was doing it for myself, I would have actually undone that. But you don't want to watch me undoing all the way back there to start all over again, which would be the 3rd time. There we go. Corner, side, just 3. 1, 2, 3. I think it's quite hypnotic when you watch somebody crocheting sometimes. Yeah, that'll send you dizzy. Right, corner. Now this is the last granny square round. It's quite simple, the pattern. Everything's going to be in 3 sets for changeovers. So you have 3 rows, or rounds as we're doing, that actually look like a granny square. The next lot, we need to get rid of these corners. So instead of doing 2 sets of trebles in the corners, we're actually only going to do 1 set, which you will see in a second. I'm just on my last corner. If you do get a chance to do this, or it is something you'd like to do, I'd love to see some pictures or a few comments. See what you think, or any suggestions if there's any other little bits you'd like me to do. Remember, I'm doing a DC join. So we're starting a new round of pattern now. If it's a side, it only has 3 trebles in each space. So we have 2 now on the side. But we're now getting rid of that granny square shape because we don't want a square on our head. So this is the corner. And on that corner in here, I'm only going to do 1 set of 3. There we go, that's 1. So literally every space that you see is just going to have 3 trebles. No chain in between at all now. It is just literally 3 trebles, 3 trebles, 3 trebles all the way around. And there's going to be 3 rows of that. So again, I'm going to speed up a little. The treble stitch is nice because it grows fast. That was a corner, you see, so I've only done 1 set of 3. I do quite a lot of hats. I enjoy making hats for the dolls, right down to the tiny little pippers, up to my Smartdoll, because my Smartdoll is my largest doll that I've got. I know some of you out there do have larger ones. For my Smartdolls, I have 2. There's Chitose, as you've just seen, and also I've got my Mirai. My Mirai does have blue eyes, not the brown, because I actually got the chance to make her in Tokyo, which was fabulous. So I chose blue eyes, not brown. There we go, nearly there. In fact, it's what, 3 and a bit years now? Oh, it seems like forever. Love to go back. And if you do get the chance to go to the store, I do recommend it. And if you get a chance to make one, the staff are absolutely brilliant and talk you through everything. So I don't know, it's almost like you're creating it yourself. It's a lovely feeling. So that was 1 round. Can you see how it's starting to curve up? It's almost looks like a little basket now. This bit here on the inside is actually the outside of the hat, so I'm just going to push it through. That's the top of our little hat. So 3 chain again, and off we go. We're nearly there. I was just having a look what time we were taking them, but it's not. Oh, it is indicating on my phone. See, we're actually under just 10 minutes, and I'm nattering away as well. So it's a a little bit different. You're not concentrating quite as much. I reckon we're looking about 15 minutes for this. It's a problem whenever I try and time myself. There's always a distraction. Either the phone rings, or the dog wants to go out, or somebody wants something, or I decide I'm going off to make something else. I do have a tendency to have a bit of a scatterbrain for that. Easily distracted. Well, this is our second round. Remember, as I said before, it's just 3 plain rounds. I haven't used my stitch marker either yet, because you don't really need it for trebles, because you can see when you're coming up to the finish point. The stitch marker is designed for when we move on to the double crochets, because the very edge has just got 3 rows again of double crochet. So if you need to check up on your double crochet, pop back to that first video and you can see how to do it. Double crochets are a much shorter stitch, so they do take a little bit longer to do. Where are we? Right, can you see? It's obvious where we started for this one. That's one good thing with trebles, they're easy to see. So, top of 3 chain, in we go, pull it through, pull it through. So, let's have a look what we've got, little recap. We've got 1, 2, 3 that have got corners. We've got 1, we've got 2 that haven't got corners, so that means I just want 1 more round. 1, 2 and 3, remember counts as that first treble. In we go. 1, 2, there we go. Again, just 3 in every single one. This style of hat can easily be made if you've got smaller dolls as well. You can either change your yarn size. I do like to go down as far as a 1 ply yarn, which is beautiful to work with, and maybe sort of a 1 or a 0.75mm hook, which are quite tiny, but if you're not used to working on a smaller scale, just do it bit by bit. Sort of drop a hook size, drop a yarn size, and it's no different. If you really are having problems, a magnifying glass is amazing to work with. But I've worked with this pattern for as small as maybe a Barbie. Not really done smaller with the granny square. Although saying that, I'm just thinking, I think I did. I think I made a little tiny hat for a Pippa doll, which if you're not familiar with is very small. I'm nearly round. I'll be quiet a minute. I'm rambling along. At least you do have the ability to turn off the volume if you don't want to listen to me chuntering away. Nearly there. Right, so around, remember top of the 3 chain, push it in, pull it through, double crochet. Now I'm going to be doing double crochet rounds, 3 of them. So I'm going to start 1 chain, and then in every single one of the top of these stitches is going to be a double crochet. Remember, in, pull yarn through. We should only have 2 on the hook now, remember. You might want to keep wrapping because you've been doing trebles. You do have a tendency to want to wrap the yarn around the hook, so it takes a bit of gain out of that. But we're not. So in, pull it through, 2 on, pull it through both. It's a nice simple stitch. So in, we should end up, if you've only got 2, you're sorted. If you've got 3, you need to take it out because you tried doing a treble again. Where are we? Round we go. In fact, I'm just thinking about that tiny hat now that I made. I'll get it out in a minute and I'll show you. Ooh, I don't think I'm going to make me 15 minutes. We've got 14:32 according to the timer. So perhaps if I was quiet and concentrated, it'd help. It's very hard doing a video of a project, so that's why if any of you have got any suggestions for tiny projects, something quick and easy, don't really want anything that's over about 20 minutes, apart from the fact you get bored. It's harder to explain to people what you're doing if it's a larger project. I mean, this one is that you just don't need a pattern, so you're okay. Right, I'm actually round. Got 2 more stitches. 1, 2. Now, if you can't remember where you were, this is where you'd place your stitch marker, just directly below where you're going to be working. I'm not going to bother for 3 rounds. Stitch is a little bit tight there, a little fight with it. That's because it was the first one. Remember when we did the double crochet join? It doesn't like it. Come on. Nope, that's too tight. All right, let me just flatten it out a bit. And that's better. It's just because where we join, because we're now on our second row, or round as I should call it. I haven't done a slip stitch join because I've done it more of a sort of an amigurumi sort of spiral basis for this. There's no need to join, and also by not joining you get rid of any unsightly sort of joining seams. So I think it's a much nicer way of working. Still working on a double crochet. The double crochet you can make longer if you wish. I've only done 3 rounds. If you made it longer, she could have a turn back on the beanie, which would look quite nice actually. I think if we've got a 3 here, I go for about 7 rows. Saying it again, aren't I? 7 rounds, if that's what you're looking at doing. Now I've got to keep an eye out where I started now because I didn't put that stitch marker in. I think I'm just about there. Yep, you can sort of see how it's a little bit thicker there than there. So this is the last round. Now when we finish this round, we're just going to fasten off, making the last stitch a slip stitch, and then you would sew in your ends. Not the favourite part for most people, but we do need to get rid of them. We do need to make them nice and neat. So you need just a decent darning needle, knitting wool needle. Make sure that the eye is large enough for your yarn to go through. I do like to have one that's got quite a nice point on it though. Some wool needles don't. They're very, very blunt. And I think it's harder, especially if you're working on a smaller scale, to thread the yarn through neat enough. Because we don't want to see where that yarn is, where we're stitching up. I also leave a nice sort of long part to sew in with. Don't cut it short, it will make it difficult for you to get rid of the look. I'll show you in a second, we are nearly there. Yep, I can see it, about 5 stitches away. Right, I'm going to make that my last stitch, and as I was saying, my next one is a slip stitch. So in, pull through, pull through. Now I'm just going to chop this yarn quite long. Sometimes I do it too long, but I'd rather it be like that than too short. And then this little loose end here, I'm just going to pull through the stitch. And there we go. We have a little beanie. 18.49, that took a little bit longer than 15 minutes. I think I overestimated that. So that's the actual hat itself. So I'll bring Chitose back in. So there we are. She's got the same little hat. We just need to sew 2 ends in. I've just got this loose end here and this one here. If this is a little bit loose here for you, you can just pull that tight. And when you stitch it in, just stitch it in round that and it'll tighten it up even further. Now, as far as the flower is concerned, I can show you to do that. It literally is a 5-minute job for the flower. So, Chitose can sit there a second while we do this. Just choose a contrast colour or choose the same colour, doesn't matter. Remember, slip knot, in. Move that yarn because it's going to get in the way. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, same as the granny square. We join, same as the granny square. But in this little hole, oh, I'll move over, in this little hole here, I only want double crochet, so I'm going to do 1 chain, does not count as your stitch. Then into the hole, double crochet. So in, pull through, 2 on the hook, pull through, that was 2, 3, 4. I think I'll have to move her, I'll end up poking her in the face. Move you over there, missus. How many did I have? 1, 2, 3, 4 I had, didn't I? Now I'm also catching up this little bit of yarn here as I'm doing it. It's just a way of sort of sewing it in at the same time. 5, 6, 7. I'm looking for 12. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You can now pull this, tightens it up. I'm going to join on the top of that first treble. First treble, you see, this is why I say you get used to doing trebles, you think you're still doing them. So into the double crochet, off we go. I'm going to do 3 chain, 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to miss 1 stitch. I'm going to do a slip stitch into the next one. I'm going to do 3 chain, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to miss a stitch, slip stitch into the next one. And I'm going to do that all the way around, miss 1, slip stitch, 3 chain, miss 1, slip stitch, 3 chain, miss 1, slip stitch. We should have 1 more, 1, 2 and 3, and slip stitch after missing 1, and in we go. So you can see we just got a little set of chains all the way around. Now I'm going to slip stitch into that first chain space. I'm going to wrap my yarn round into that chain space and do a half treble. Now half treble starts like a treble, so you've got your 3, but then I'm going to pull through all 3. Then I'm going to do a treble. Then I'm going to do the half treble, so yarn round, in, you've got 3, pull through all 3, slip stitch. So each chain space will have a slip stitch. It will have a half treble, a treble, a half treble, a slip stitch. So slip stitch, half treble, treble, half treble, slip stitch. So you can see our little petals are forming. So remember, make sure you're getting into these chain spaces. We have a slip stitch, a half treble, treble, half treble, slip stitch. Just got 2 more to do. Just a very, very basic flower this. There are so many different flowers you can make, but this is just a little starter one. Oh, looks like Chitose has got hold of my yarn. Thank you. And then into the very first one, push your hook, will be tight, and do a slip stitch. Chop your yarn, my scissors will cut, pull it through, and you have, tighten that, a little flower. Now, as you saw before, I just used a button to embellish it, of which I have now disappeared. All this button paper, well, button fabric, and I can't find my button, but as you can see, on the one I've done with Chitose, it's just a little button, just finishes it off, and perhaps if your middle bit's not quite as neat as it should be, it hides a multitude of sins as well. So, again, sewing in the ends and stitching on to the hat where required with that little button. So if you just hold there a second, I will introduce you to Pippa. For some of you who haven't seen one. Now, my age shows here. You see how different in size she is to Chitose. Slightly different. This is a blast from my past, from when I was a little girl. That's why she's there. And as you can see, she has her tiny little hat, which is on a 1-ply yarn. which is basically working on the same system as we've just done. So you can make this pattern for loads of different size dolls, big and small. Hope that all made sense to you. Any questions, please do ask. Again, subscribe, like, share, everything you can. Thank you very much for your support and hope to see you again soon. Bye.